Good morning, I'm Marina, and I wanted to talk a little bit about um, DVAM. It is a very touchy subject, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I'm wearing purple, and I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. And I am a survivor of domestic violence. I grew up in a home that was dysfunctional, and there was a lot of DV, and I grew up with all that. And then when my parents got divorced, I they started dating other people, and my mom got remarried with my stepfather, rest in peace. He was very, used a lot of A. This is so ridiculous. I feel like I got to do everything in code. I don't want to get in trouble or get a strike or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Abuse, all kinds. Not SA with my stepfather, any of that. He didn't do any of that, but a lot of psychological, emotional, and one time he did hit me and I left to live with my dad. Now, where the story starts is my mom, rest in peace, was mad at me for leaving and wouldn't speak to me and lied to my grandparents, and they disowned me. So that other side had nothing to do with me for, I think, like around 2 years. And then when I was with my dad and have a very great relationship, and was he still is my rock, and there was lots of kindness, and it was like daddy's hands were, but not just discipline, nothing really bad or any of that. So, but then my mom reappeared back into my life, and the rule is that I had to live with my mom. It would be the only way to love me. And I left when my dad was at work, I left and brought my cat and my little belongings and went to my mom's. And I know it broke my dad's heart. And I was, at that time, when I left to be back at my mom's, I was 15 years old. And to go back a little bit, when I lived with my dad, I would send letters to my mom, and she would return to sender just cruelness, you know what I mean? That's why I have had a very rough relationships with my mom, and that is one of the biggest things. um then I was hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with, and I lost my virginity by like 3 dudes, and that was my first time and everything. And I OD'd, and then my mom she took me to the hospital a couple hours later, and she told me that it was my fault, that I shouldn't have been hanging out with those people, and it broke my heart. There's just so much cruel. So what I'm getting at, it led me into a bad relationships because I didn't have my worth. And people people that are abusive, that they smell that kind of like fear, where they find a victim. And I fell in love with a guy named Chad, and it was great in the beginning. I fell in love, and little things. He grabbed my arm was one of the first things that he did. And I remember I watched a lot of Oprah and talk shows, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, Phil Donahue, all of them, you know what I mean? And I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong, that that was a bad touch. It wasn't, and then he started crying and said, "Please save me." And you know how that goes. I stayed with him. He did diabolical things, that knowing that I've been essayed, he did that to me while he was being physical at the same time. And that was one of the lowest points. And why do we stay? Because you're in love. And it's not as easy as it seems. It's that help me, and I am like that. I'm a very sensitive, caring, to a fault, and I had the upbringing about how I was punished for leaving when I was abused. So that's how my story is with that. We dated for a year and 8 months, and then at one point, I left. I left. And thank God for that. I'm going to tell you something that sounds kind of strange, but it is the truth. That when one day before I left, I was yelling at God and was like, why am I going through this? It wasn't out loud, it was in my mind. It was an epiphany, basically, that said, you have to leave. Basically, God can only do so much. Gave me the strength to get out of this situation, but physically I had to go. And it was a mess. And then I destroyed myself, my body, with narcotics and being a little promiscuous, and because I didn't care about me at all. And one day I was just like, I need to get off. I started deleting dealers out of my phone, stopped doing stuff other than marijuana, which I think in the beginning I didn't for a few months, quite a while. It's something I've always liked, and it's also an escape, and it calms me down, helps with anxiety, depression, and all those things. And I like it, because I worry about worrying, and that is a trait that I've always had. Back to the subject. I deleted all the things, and I started to get better on the narrow, and my husband showed up. I was 21 years old, he was 19, and uh, we only dated for like 3 months and got married. And that was rough because he went to basic, and we were only married for like 2 weeks, and then he was out there at Lost in the Woods, Leonard Wood, I think is what it is, in Kansas, in Missouri. And when we moved into our first place, our first station was in California, um, for AIT. I think it was called DLI or something like. It's been a long time. It was in Monterey, and beautiful, absolutely beautiful place. But I was when we got together, we he changed a lot, being in, being programmed into the army and all that. And then me, my husband Vince, very calm, chill dude, right? Well, I was so used to just havoc around, toxicity. Things were, it was normal, but it was abnormal for me. And so it took a while to adjust. And thank God for my husband's patience. And I want you to know that you're not a victim. You're a survivor. You're battling to get out. And if you have any little shred left of you, please, please get out of that situation. It doesn't have to get to physical. Um, Emotional is bad enough. The person that you're with, and this goes to the men and the ladies, because I want that to be very clear, that it could happen to no matter what sex you are, no matter what race, religion, any of that. Abuse could happen, and your body tells you, hey, this isn't right. And it's like, for my instance, basically, it's like a book, a handbook. It's like those people have a handbook. They say the same things, and they know how to manipulate and gaslight and all these things of just awfulness, awful people. Now, I want to be an example, and I want to inspire people. I have a blessed, blessed life. I mean, not everything's perfect, but I know that I'm protected. The person that you love, you should be you should be protected, not having to worry about being abused by the person that is supposed to love you. It is not love. It's not. And then we go through the honeymoon phases. Well, he's, with my situation, oh, he's so nice right now. When he's good, it's great. You know what I mean? It's never okay for people to lay hands or to make you feel worthless with words. Um, I'm sorry that I keep saying I do that a lot. I had a surgery that went really wrong, and I had a stroke during, almost bled to death, la di la. I have aphasia, I have brain damage, so I have a hard time with my speech at times. And I hope this all makes sense. I am definitely including in this domestic violence awareness link. It'll be provided up on the top. You could chat, you could do anything you need. The hotline, I have it, and I will supply that with you. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just somebody that dealt with experiences of abuse. So I'm here for you. And my cat even agrees. She's co-signing under the desk, crying. Lots of love. You are important. People you're not alone. I promise you it happens all the time. And as far as the men, it's a different, feel like they can't speak out because they would look weak or people make fun of them or be like, man, whatever, da 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 da. Ladies do like to lay hands because they think that there's no repercussions. But I'm letting you know, ladies, today's a brand new day. If you hit a person, be worried. I mean, what am I trying to say? To fuck around and fuck out. And I'm not saying it's okay, but nobody needs to be hit. Nobody. Zero tolerance of violence. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. And lots of love, prayers. I pray every day. And I hope at least one person hears this and feels enough self-worth to get out. And yes, thank you for your time. Lots of love.